Hi friends, Jen here with Serenity Hill Farmstead, and today I have a little bit of a haul here for you. It is a medicinal herb haul, of course. Now you guys know that we have a medicinal herb farm, and it's still relatively new. It's only a few years old, and it takes a while for certain things to get established to be able to produce as much as we need and we want to be able to produce. And some things we just can't grow because of the zone that we're in, and I really don't like the idea of forcing something to grow into a zone. You know, sometimes we can stretch it. Like if it's an herb, we're in zone 5A, it's an herb that really grows best in zone 6. Fine, we can do that. But there's certain things that just do best in different climates. So when we do that, if we don't have something established well enough to be able to harvest it yet, if we just aren't producing enough of it yet, or if it's something that grows into a completely different zone, we outsource for that. So what I have here today is from another small scale organic herb farm called Oshala Farms. Now they are in the Pacific Northwest, pretty sure in Oregon. I will put their information in the description box, but I love their herbs. So I have, how many herbs did we get here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 herbs here that I'm going to talk about a little bit that I got from them, and I'm going to put everything into jars. We don't want to leave them in bags for too long, so let's go ahead and get started. There's one thing that I want to mention before we get into it. So this one right here, Campagne root, does not look like much, right? It's just this little bag all folded over. This is a pound. This is 1 pound of herb. This right here, this gigantic bag, is 2 pounds of nettle leaf. So it's important because I hear people say a lot, they complain about the cost of herbs and how much you get for it. It really depends on the herb. Nettle is super light and airy, and Campagne root, it's a root, so it's denser, it's thicker, it's heavier. Comfrey root is another one. What's the other one that I wanted to compare it to? Ashwagandha root, same thing, it's a pound. These two together equal one of these. And even though they're all roots, these two are a little bit denser than ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is lighter, so you get more of that than you will this. And that's just the way it works. When we sell herbs, we sell them by weight, okay? So that's something to keep in mind when you are shopping for herbs. Now, what I like about Oshala Farms is they grow very similar to what we do. We are a regenerative herb farm. They are organic, and we have a lot of similar practices. We've attended some things, virtual online like summits and conferences and things, and we've heard them speak, and I've watched a lot of their stuff that they put out there on social media, and their practices are awesome. They have a real love for herbs and herbalism and their land, and that just really speaks volumes to me. So I absolutely want to support another small scale herb farm that has very similar practices. All right, so first I am going to get my jars ready. I think the first one I will do will be the blue vervain. Now we grow blue vervain. I love blue vervain for the nervous system, for cycles. It's really good for your cycle. It's a lovely herb for ADHD, kind of helps the mind calm down. Hopefully this isn't going to be too dusty, and I won't need a mask. Nope, we're good. This is all I do. We just put things into jars. But blue vervain is excellent for calming the noise that you have in your head when you have ADHD, how your brain just does not shut down. It just does not calm down at bedtime, and you just go. So blue vervain is excellent for that. Blue vervain is also really good for women who have a part of their cycle where they tend to be more angry and explosive and things like that. If you are more reactive during, that 1 week of your cycle, this is a very helpful herb. It is definitely one that we keep tinctured and on the shelf. We keep this in our home apothecary. We do also sell blue vervain tincture. So if you're interested in that, I do have another YouTube video I'll put down in the description, and that video talks all about blue vervain. It talks about how I make the tincture. Actually, let me write this, that it's coming from Oshala in 23. And that's it. I do have a little extra I'm gonna put in a quart jar when I'm done. So we're just gonna kind of set these. I'm gonna rub it back up so it's not just sitting out in the air. Set it to the side, and we will move on to the next one. The next one I am going to move on to is HSUP. So if you're new here, we live in town on a corner lot, and we also have a 10-acre farm. And that's where our herb farm is. But HSUP, we didn't get planted yet out there, so we're just going off of what we produce here in town, which is actually quite a bit. This is quite the prolific plant, and this is very well established at our house, and it grows all down like the front side corner of our house. Very prolific. So we have quite a bit of it growing, but not enough. Of course, not enough. We always want more. It's a wonderful herb. It's a lovely respiratory herb. Really, really good for helping to clear the lungs and helping to get over sickness. Helping to clear out mucus and support the lungs in healing. So we're gonna write HSUP, and I always write with a Sharpie. Did you know that you can rewrite over and over on these? You just take a little rubbing alcohol and it takes your Sharpie right off. Oshala 23. And you are ready to reuse them. Now I always reuse the canning jars with dried herbs again and again. Of course my dog is going to be barking now, so I apologize for that now, but that's what he does. That's what he does. We've got some neighbors behind us that let their dogs just kind of in and out of the house, whatever. They have a really nice fenced backyard, and they bark constantly. And I mean constantly. And when they start barking, he starts barking, and then they just go back and forth having their little dog conversations. But it makes it near impossible for me to be able to film sometimes. This next one I'm doing is going to be dusty, so I'm going to stand back. Yep. This is Valyrian Roots. Valyrian Roots, my absolute favorite for sleep. Absolute favorite. Gold stars. And this looks wonderful. It's not as dusty as when I purchased valerian from what I like to call the big box herb stores. It is not nearly as dusty, and that all fit in there. So what I really, really like my favorites about purchasing from small herb farms like Oshala is that you get herb, not dust. You know what I mean? Have you ever opened something from one of the big, huge herb stores? Which I am not insulting. Let me be clear here. I purchase from Mountain Rose Herbs, Star West Botanicals, Frontier Co-op. If I don't have another option, they're not a bad option. But they produce on a much bigger scale. That dog will not stop barking today. I'm so sorry. But when you have farms that are producing that much, how you process them is a little bit different, and you're using more machinery instead of like hand garbling and things like that. So when you're doing that, it breaks down the herb a little more, and instead of having whole herb like this, you get a significant amount of dust. Now there's a little bit down in this one too, and you know, in ours there's still a little bit too, because you're hand garbling. So a garbler, I actually have one right here. Here's a garbler, because I was garbling herbs earlier. Okay, we put the herbs on top of a tray, and we rub the herbs on top, and that's what separates them from the stems and the parts that we don't want in our finished product. And then we have our finished herb. But fine garblers, and you know, when you're processing things like a root, you have to break that down a little more and a little differently, and that can give you, you know, some finer particles, and you can get some dust. So it's like inevitable, it's gonna happen, but you're less likely to have herb dust, and you get herb when you are buying from a smaller scale farm. So vervain, fabulous for sleep. Fabulous for sleep. You want to watch for vein if you have kind of a hot temper. If you're kind of hot-headed, nothing wrong with that at all. But if you are, it can exacerbate that, and it can also interfere with your sleep. It can actually produce an opposite effect in your sleep. So you don't want that. So watch out for that if you want to use vervain. The next one we're doing is ashwagandha. Now this is definitely a top herb in our family. I want to make sure that I always have ashwagandha in tincture form available. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent herb for stress management. It's excellent. And it's got a lot of great features, a lot of great properties. Very dusty. Whew. Very, very dusty. This is why you usually wear masks when you're doing this, when you're working with dried herbs, because as fabulous as all these properties are, you do not want to breathe in that dust. Okay? But ashwagandha, excellent for stress management, excellent for depression. Now, of course, if you have clinical depression, you need to be very careful with what you take, and it's definitely not a substitute if you are on medications, but it can be used in conjunction as long as you do your research on your specific medication and you're working with a good medical team that can give you good information about that. You need to just do your own research and make informed decisions before you make any kind of adjustments to your medication routine. Campagne, of course, again, the root is what we're going after. The best herb there is, in my opinion, for expectorants. It is remarkable how this clears the mucus deep in your lungs. Okay, so this is a thicker, denser herb. So do you see how a pound of Campagne is only like, I don't know, what is that, 2/3? About-ish, maybe a little less than that. Woo, and it smells wonderful. This is one, I do have a video on this one too, talking about how it works in your body, the amazing benefits that it has. This is excellent as a tincture. It's also really, really good to make as a cough syrup. Fabulous herb to make a cough syrup out of. You start with doing a decoction with it, and then you mix with certain amounts of raw honey. Some people use maple syrup, you can, but really raw honey, you're talking about making an herbal medicine. It really is the best. Are you gonna be a photo bomber and come get some water? Go ahead, get your water. It really is the best to use raw honey because you've got all of the additional antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, all of the honey benefits. Has all of the things, right? So if you're adding that to a decoction of Campagne, which is also a concentrated preparation, then you've got a super potent herbal medicine. So that is how I would use Campagne as a syrup. The next one we're doing, I'm throwing things all over the place. This is St. John's wort. So St. John's wort grows wild on our farm, and I haven't planted any yet because I wanted to watch where it grows. I don't expect too much dust with this one, but you just never know. Definitely gonna need another one for this one too. I am probably gonna need 4 of these half-gallon jars when I'm getting to this nettle here. But St. John's wort, wonderful herb for mental health also. You do need to be careful with St. John's wort with depression also. When it comes to clinical depression, oh, where's my tops? I'm out of tops. When it comes to clinical depression or generalized anxiety disorder, you really need to be careful and watch the herbs that you are using to help yourself with that. That's why I always say to work with a medical team, because some of these herbs can actually increase your symptoms. So that just really comes down to knowing your herbs, knowing which one is going to interact with medications, knowing which herbs will not interact, knowing what herbs are contraindicated for your specific condition. And how you learn about that is by getting some good herbal books. I do have a video that gives all of my book suggestions. Also, there are several resources online that specialize in all of the education that you're going to need. Herbal Academy is a great one. That was where I started. That is my go-to. And then there's certain herbalists that do also provide information. We provide a lot of education and information on our website. So, and all of that is free. You can go just read to your heart's content. And of course the videos that I put out too. So, but there's a lot of conflicting information. So no matter where you're getting your information from, you always want to double check it, and you want to make sure you're not just getting some random person. I know I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, but you don't want to just go by one person's blog, okay? Or by one person's YouTube channel. You want to make sure you're backing up that information with good herbal books. I strongly suggest having the books. It's very, very important. Just make sure you check out that video if you're interested in getting some good herbal books, which again, highly, highly recommend, and start building your herbal library. That video will give you, I don't even know how many books in there that I talked about, because there's books in there for growing if you're interested in growing, and there's a lot of books on herbs and how to make medicine. So several, probably 7, 8, I don't know, maybe more. There's a lot of books in there, and most of them are extremely affordable and very easy to get. So St. John's wort also makes an excellent oil. Really good for the muscles, and it's beautiful. It probably makes one of the prettiest oils out there. It turns this red color. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. All right, the next one that we're gonna do is Comfrey Root. Comfrey is so good for wounds and bones and muscles and joints, all of that stuff. Okay, I had to do that off camera because it was super loud, but Comfrey is really, really good for the bones, the muscles, and joints. And if you pair that, if you infuse this in some castor oil, it penetrates even deeper, because castor oil reaches super, super deep into the layers of the skin, into the body, and it pushes the benefits of whatever you're infusing it with down along with it. So Comfrey, excellent, excellent, excellent option. There's a lot of question out there in the herbal world on, should I be drinking Comfrey internally? Should I be taking that internally? I always say no. And the reason I say no is that it's really not good for your liver. There's a lot of herbalists that argue, well, if you know what you're doing, and if you're very careful and you're not taking it in excess, and you're paying attention to what you're doing, and again, working with someone that knows what they're doing, then it's not something that you have to worry about. However, anything that is dangerous for the liver, anything that has the potential to damage the liver, for me, that's a hard no. I am not going to mess with that. My liver health is extremely important to me, and I am not going to suggest to any of my clients and customers that they put that in their body. So when people ask me, what about Comfrey, Comfrey tea or anything like that? Nope, 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 nope. Comfrey tea, I will only make with leaves, the leaves of the Comfrey plant, and that is a fertilizer for my garden. Fabulous fertilizer, because Comfrey roots go in crazy deep, crazy far deep, and they pull all of those nutrients up that are way down deep in the ground. And as they pull it up, they bring it up and they feed it into the plants around them. That's why it's great to plant in your orchard, around fruit trees, around other plants that you want to benefit from all of those wonderful minerals and nutrients for the plants. And it's in the leaves, right? So if you do what we call chop and drop, which is chop the Comfrey plant down and just kind of scatter the plants, the leaves around wherever you want to fertilize, it breaks down and those nutrients go right into the ground up top. So Comfrey Root, Oshala. This one is Peppermint, because I didn't grow enough. Peppermint's still getting going. We have, woo! Ooh, love it, love it, love it. Peppermint is probably, I have about a quarter of the peppermint that I want to have on the farm right now. So we actually do have quite a bit of it bottled up. I'm looking up on our apothecary. Quite a bit of it up on the shelf right now. But peppermint is in so many different preparations, so many different teas, that I want to make sure I am not going to run out. So I just wanted to get a little bit more. I just got an extra pound of it. I'm going to need to get more jars, guys. I still have another half gallon of that, at least, to put in. I think I have a few more half-gallon jars. I'm gonna have to get up there and check. But peppermint is so good for so many different things. Fabulous for the digestion, upper digestion, especially if you suffer with heartburn. Peppermint is the fastest thing to relieve that heartburn, I feel like. In some people, it can actually exacerbate your symptoms. If you have like really severe acid reflux, like chronic acid reflux, it can cause an increase in symptoms for some people. I personally I've only read about that. I have never seen anybody have that problem. So I really don't worry about it with anybody in our family. All right, we have let me read you what I got here. 1 pound, 2 pounds of nettle. So that's the 2 pounds of nettle there. 1 pound of ashwagandha, 1 pound of blue vervain, 1 pound of comfrey, 1 pound of peppermint, 1 pound of St. John's wort, 1 pound of valerian, 1 pound of Campagne, and 1 pound of HSUP. So in all of these herbs, because I'm going to have to, just off camera, I'm going to grab some more and I'm going to finish filling up these jars. But in all of these jars here, this will be probably an extra 4 jars. So you're going to have to imagine with me here, because I'm going to have to search for some here. So that's 4 jars of nettle at least. I probably have another quart of that one. I've got another half gallon of that one. Probably another half gallon of that one. And a quart of that one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That is 8 gallons worth of herb. 8 gallons. And what did I pay for this? Does it say on here? I think I paid about $140 for all of that. Does that sound expensive? Yes, it does. However, you have to think of the herbal medicine that you are creating here. The amount of, let's see, ashwagandha that I am going to be making out of this, and this 1 pound, probably, I don't know, maybe $24. And I'm gonna make a ridiculous amount of ashwagandha tincture out of this, because using dried herb, I only need this much to make this much tincture. That's all I need. So if I'm getting 1 pound of herb, that is ridiculous amounts of tincture that I'm gonna have on hand. Whereas if you were to go to Walmart and get yourself some very highly processed and filled with fillers and who knows what else, ashwagandha gummies, even if they are organic, you're spending, what do they cost? $12 for 120 days? No, 120 gummies. And the dosage on those, I think, is probably 2 gummies a day. So you've got 2 months, and this will last. If this was for my family, this would last years. Years. This would be great. This would be great to last years. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to store these. This is my apothecary shelf. This is primarily where all of our herbs are stored. That is going to be for immediate use. This is floor to ceiling. This goes 3 jars back. And it stores a considerable amount of herbs. The considerations for where this went was twofold. One is temperature, one is light. Now we are in the kitchen and I've got big windows over here. I've got a window here. This, can I do this backwards? This right here, this is the door, and that's a window, and that goes out onto a mudroom that has a lot of light in it. So there's a lot of light around here, but there's nothing direct. And you can see I put a curtain rod up here so that in the sunnier time of year, which I have never done. I've never had to do this, but I put the curtain rod up there so that I could put a curtain up there to cover, to block out the rest of the light. We've never had sunlight directly hit it. Not during any point of the day. Everything is blocked, everything is fine, so I never get direct sunlight here. It is also very temperature controlled in here. That is the north side of the house. It stays very cool on that wall all year round. We don't have to worry about it. So this is a good place to store. I don't have to keep everything put, you know, in my pantry, close the doors, keep everything dark. Nothing has to be stored in the refrigerator unless it is a preparation that requires that. But just storing dried herbs, I make sure I have a good quality jar and I have a sealed top right there, okay? If you wanted to take it a step further, if you weren't going to be using your herbs regularly, we do. So that is sufficient for us. But you could do a vacuum seal with, if you have a vacuum sealer, you could totally stick that on there and vacuum seal your herbs. We have mylarder herbs, red clover and oregano were our first huge crops where we had just such an abundance of them. So we actually mylarred them and we took the dry herbs, put them in there with a small oxygen absorber, and that helped keep them preserved for a long period of time. With proper storage and care of your herbs, you know, when you get them, don't let them sit, you know, in front of your heater, in front of your window while you wait to get to them. Make sure if you are not taking them out of the bags that they come in, and you want to make sure that you're storing them in a cool, dry place until you get to getting them in your jars. Once they're in their jars, make sure cool, dry place, temperature controlled. You're not having big swings of temperature. Now we have the train coming by here, so now that's going to be loud. And your herbs should last you a good long while. Shelf stable for about a year. Make sure you go through them and you're rotating through them like you would anything else that you are storing long term. And you will get tons and tons of medicine, and it is worth every penny to bulk buy your herbs. So as I said, I will put Oshala Farm's information down in the description box so you guys can check them out. They're such a fabulous farm. I love watching their information. They do, if you're in their area, definitely check out their farm because they do farm classes that just they just look wonderful. I would love to be able to go to one day. Hope you learned something interesting today about herbs and how to store them and care for them, and that it is super important to support your small local medicinal herb farms. If you haven't subscribed yet, I want to invite you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can stay up to date on the videos we put out, and stay tuned for some wonderful videos on making some medicine with these. I think I have done videos on a lot of these, but the three that I'm super excited to do first is Comfrey Root. I want to do a video on that. St. John's Wort is another one that I want to do a video on soon, and Ashwagandha. So stay tuned for those coming soon. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.